Hello and welcome to IAMC Radio and Podcast.
Great to be here.
Today, we're going to explore some of the top news headlines for May 6th.
That's right. We've got updates from several places: Nigeria, China, Gabon, Germany, the U.S., and the U.K. too.
Yeah, covering quite a range: financial investigations, international relations, economic shifts, things like that.
And we'll try to cover them concisely, focusing as always on, well, truth and justice.
Absolutely. So let's get right to it. Where do we start?
Let's start in Nigeria. The Economic and Financial Crimes Commission, the EFCC.
Okay.
They've arrested Martin's Innocent Otse. He's better known online as Very Dark Man.
Very Dark Man, right. I've heard the name. What's the allegation?
Alleged financial crimes. The EFCC says he repeatedly ignored invitations.
Invitations about what?
About multiple petitions they'd received detailing serious financial misconduct.
So has he been released?
Well, they've offered him administrative bail, but he needs to meet certain conditions first. Until then, he's detained.
Okay. Is there any pushback on this?
Yes. His lawyer, Deji Adeyanju, he's a human rights lawyer, actually. He stated that initially there wasn't even an official petition against him.
Oh, so that raises questions about the detention itself, then?
It certainly could, yes. Questions about the legality. Very Dark Man is known for, pretty controversial takes on social issues online.
Right. And the EFCC's response?
They maintain they acted within the law, that they have the right to detain suspects under investigation. They even got a remand order.
A remand order. That's like court permission to hold someone longer.
Exactly. Judicial permission while the investigation continues. And they specifically deny the arrest is because of his criticisms of them.
Okay. Interesting situation there. What else from Nigeria?
Staying with finance, the Central Bank of Nigeria, the CBN, their personnel costs have really shot up.
How much are we talking?
Well, between 2023 and 2024, they jumped by N$313 billion, went from about N$295 billion to nearly N$609 billion.
Wow, that's a huge increase. Where did most of that come from?
A lot seems to be in other staff expenses. That category saw a massive leap.
Other staff expenses? Like what?
It seems to include early exit payments. This relates to that controversial staff layoff in 2024.
Ah, right, where about 1,000 employees left the CBN.
That's the one. The CBN governor, Oluyemi Cardoso, described the departures as voluntary.
But I sense a buck.
Well, yes, some of those former staff members are now suing the CBN.
On what grounds?
They're alleging they were denied a fair hearing and that labor laws were violated. Unfair dismissal, basically.
So a clash between the official story and the employees' claims?
Yeah.
That definitely needs watching.
Absolutely. And still on CBN Matters, there's the Anchor Borrowers Program. Loan recovery is still ongoing.
Right, that agricultural loan program. How's the recovery going?
They still need to recover about N$311 billion, which is, well, it's less than the N$424 billion owed at the end of last year.
So progress, but still a massive amount outstanding.
A very significant amount. And there are troubling stories from farmers, particularly those under the CIFAC group.
What are they saying?
They're saying they registered back in 2020, even made deposits in 2021, but never actually received the loans.
Really? What happened?
They got ATM cards, apparently, but no funds were ever put on them. So, as you can imagine, there's a lot of distrust, and their communication group got locked.
That sounds messy. Has anyone looked into this?
Yes, the Senate actually set up an ad hoc committee back in March to investigate the whole program.
Looking for what? Corruption?
Alleged corruption, yes. There have been reports of contracts going to sort of cronies and even fake purchases being recorded.
Undermines the whole point of the program, doesn't it? Transparency is key there.
Critically important for programs like that.
Okay, shifting gears slightly within Nigeria, the Dangote refinery.
Yes, Aliko Dangote himself made some strong claims recently.
What did he say?
He accused oil marketers, specifically those who benefited from the old system of subsidized fuel imports, of actively trying to sabotage his Lekki refinery project.
Sabotage? Why would they do that?
Well, he argues his refinery is a threat to their business model, their profits from importing fuel.
Makes sense from their perspective, I suppose. Did he say anything else?
He did commend President Tinubu for appointing a new leadership team at the NNPCL, the state oil company.
Thinking they might help.
He expressed hope they'd tackle some of the systemic challenges in the industry. He was clear his fight isn't with the government, but with the specific marketers and traders.
And does he think he can win this fight?
He sounded quite confident, yes. Said he expects to win. It really shows the big shifts happening in Nigeria's energy sector.
It does. Okay, one more from Nigeria: stolen vehicles.
Right. An Interpol operation called Safe Wheels in West Africa recently uncovered about 150 stolen vehicles.
And some were found in Nigeria.
Yes, unfortunately. The Nigeria Customs Service found 6 vehicles in Lagos inside freight containers.
Where were they stolen from?
Canada, apparently. All stolen this year, 2024. They were Toyota and Lexus models.
So an international issue. Are they investigating further?
Yes, the NCS and Canada's Interpol office are working together on it now. Highlights that need for international cooperation on crime.
Indeed it does. Okay, let's move outside Africa. What's happening with China?
There's some tension involving the US CIA. China has warned it will take measures against what it calls infiltration and sabotage activities of foreign anti-China forces.
I just figured this.
The CIA released some videos in Chinese, apparently aimed at recruiting Chinese officials as informants.
Ah, okay. How did China react officially?
A foreign ministry spokesperson called the videos a damning confession of U.S. espionage efforts and a naked political provocation. Strong words.
This goes amidst existing spying accusations between the two, right?
Exactly. It's part of that ongoing back and forth. China also recently highlighted a case of a government employee selling state secrets to a foreign agency.
Trying to show they're cracking down.
Likely part of it. And remember, the CIA reportedly launched a specific drive last October to recruit informants in China, but also Iran and North Korea.
So intelligence activities seem to be ramping up on both sides.
It certainly looks that way.
Okay, let's go back to Africa. Gabon. There was a coup not too long ago.
That's right. And now they have a new president, Brice Oligui Nguema. He won the election on April 12th after a 19-month transition period following that 2023 coup.
How's he being received?
He seems quite popular, actually, but he faces some really tough economic challenges, even though Gabon is oil-rich.
What kind of challenges?
Well, things like an unreliable electricity grid, a lack of usable roads across the country, big infrastructure gaps.
And the economy itself.
There's a major need to diversify away from just oil. Plus, Gabon's national debt has climbed quite a bit.
So, high expectations but difficult circumstances. What's his plan?
He's pledged to work with the IMF and the World Bank on debt repayment. He's also promised to tackle corruption and youth unemployment.
Any positive signs internationally?
Yes, the African Union recently lifted the sanctions it had placed on Gabon after the coup, so that's a step towards normalization.
Okay, crucial times for Gabon then. Let's jump to Europe, Germany. Political uncertainty there.
Yes, quite a bit. The conservative leader, Friedrich Merz, he failed to win the chancellorship in the first round of voting in parliament.
Do you get enough votes?
No, he got 310, but needed 316. Apparently, it's the first time a post-war chancellor candidate hasn't won on the first try.
Is he still expected to get the job eventually?
Yes, he's still considered the likely winner. This follows the collapse of the previous government and an election back in February.
What happens next?
There'll be a second round. If he fails again, Parliament has 14 days to elect someone with an absolute majority.
Any political reaction to this first-round failure?
Yes, the far-right AfD party immediately called for new election.
And this vote happened around a significant anniversary, didn't it?
It did, yes. Right on the eve of the 80th anniversary of Nazi Germany's surrender in World War II. Adds a certain historical weight.
What about the economic backdrop in Germany?
Not great. The economy actually shrank for the last 2 years, and the forecast for this year is zero growth. Stagnation, really.
Yeah, and there's the U.S. angle too, isn't there?
Yeah.
With Trump.
Right. The Trump administration was often critical of Germany, and some Trump allies have supported the AfD.
The same AfD that Germany's own intelligence service recently labeled as extremist.
Correct. Classified as a right-wing extremist organization. So a complex political and economic picture in Germany right now.
Definitely. Okay, over to the United States. What's the news there?
First, an update on immigration. A federal appeals court has refused the Trump administration's request to revoke the temporary legal status for hundreds of thousands of people.
Which groups are affected?
People from Nicaragua, Venezuela, Haiti, and Cuba who were granted parole under the Biden administration.
So the court is stopping the attempt to end their status early.
Exactly. It upheld a lower judge's order that blocked the Department of Homeland Security's move.
What was the court's reasoning?
They found that Homeland Security Secretary Kristi Noem hadn't made a strong showing that ending the parole was likely to be legally upheld if appealed further.
How have immigrant rights groups reacted?
They've welcomed the decision, obviously. They called the administration's attempt reckless and illegal.
Okay. Any other major U.S. news?
Yes, in business news, the accounting firm PwC is laying off employees.
Oh, how many?
About 1,500 in the U.S. That's around 2% of their American workforce.
Why are they doing that?
They cited historically low levels of attrition, meaning fewer people are leaving voluntarily than usual, as the main reason for the cuts.
Interesting reason. Okay, finally, let's look at the United Kingdom.
There are reports the UK government is considering tightening visa rules for citizens from certain countries.
Which countries?
Nigeria, Pakistan, and Sri Lanka are mentioned.
And why the potential change?
It seems to be due to concerns about high rates of people overstaying their visas and then claiming asylum.
What kind of visas would be affected?
The proposed restrictions are expected to focus on work and study visa applications.
Has the government confirmed this?
Home Office hasn't confirmed specific country restrictions yet, but stated they are building intelligence to identify potential overstayers earlier. They said a full plan will be in a future immigration white paper.
Is this entirely new for Nigerians, for example?
Not entirely. Reports indicate Nigerian applicants have already seen higher visa rejection rates and fewer visas issued over the last couple of years, so this might be an intensification of an existing trend.
Right. Another complex issue with international implications.
Absolutely. You know, looking across these headlines from Nigeria to China, Gabon, Germany, the US, the UK, it really highlights a world grappling with financial accountability, political shifts, international tensions, and changing migration patterns.
Yeah, a lot of moving parts, and each situation is complex, impacting real people and global stability.
Yeah.
He's careful watching.
Agreed.
Thank you for listening to the Today's Top News Headlines on IAMC Radio and Podcast.